When do I move on from an investment? What factors should I weigh when I decide, should I sell this thing or should I just keep holding it?
Okay, so when should I sell something or not? There's a lot. That's a big. I could write a book on this subject alone. So, a couple things for me that jump out when I hear that. Number one is this concept that for me it's a visual. I played soccer, right? So I use soccer. So I have a team. My team is on the field, right?
Hmm.
Those are the best players. Matter of fact, I coach soccer too, so same thing. And so you want to have your best players on the field, and you've got people on the bench,
Hmm.
right? And so the first thing I would say is, who's on your bench? Are they doing significantly better than that position that you're talking about? Because
Hmm.
if you have it invested, it's on the field, it's playing. Yeah, you've
Yep.
chosen it, and so we're constantly analyzing every single player that's on the field versus everybody that's on the bench. So we
Yep.
have 174 ETFs in our universe. That's our bench. Yeah. And at any point in time, probably 20 to 30 different ETFs are on the field. We have a variety of different models from, 10% stock to 100% stock and different types of,
Hmm.
portfolios, all kinds of things. So everybody else is trying to get on the field. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind because that's what we end up kind of dealing with on a daily basis. But there are lots of other considerations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one thing is the tax.
Mhm.
Do you have a large capital gain? Is this a taxable or tax deferred account? That can make your decision process a little bit different because I may keep an underperforming stock that's still performing, it's still growing, but because I have a sizable capital gain, I'm not going to sell it because even though I can get some more gains for another stock because after tax, it's probably a wash.
Yeah, exactly. Put up our stock signals again, real quick. And essentially, just this is why we have two different signals
Hmm.
because exactly that. The fast signal and the portfolio I just showed you in the summary was from the fast signal. And that is designed to be moved more frequently because we use that in IRAs and Roths and those type of things where we don't have the taxation. So you do have to consider taxes. So the slow signal we use for those, and it's meant to be more of a buy and hold. We use different holdings that don't have as much, volatility in them, so we have to get out of them.
Hmm.
And so, really, tax is a big consideration as to whether or not you should keep or sell that holding, because look, you're going to lose 20, 30% potentially of the gains.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, it's very hard to make that back. Another consideration for me, just to do, I'll give you an example. So back in 2020, we were riding a wave that was unbelievable.
Hmm.
Clean energy, technology, genomics, you name it. It was just running and running and running. And we did fantastic from, that run. But come the beginning of 2021, explosive January for those things, but then middle February started to fall off.
Yep.
By March, we were out of those in our IRA type assets. By the end of that year, we were out of all of them, even the ones where we had to take gains. And so when something triggers a downturn for us, so again, what's on the bench? Is the bench doing better? In that case, it really was, because a lot of those pieces fell 20 to 60%, from their highs. And so, you know, it just, I have technical rules that I use, and I look, and it just kept breaking through those technical rules, and you could see the momentum, and so we got out
Hmm.
as far as that goes. Uh, that's beyond the pale of this whole conversation because it's, again, write a whole book on the technical cues that you use to get out of something. But I will say, have a universe and have that universe, tell you where to go. So if the other conservative portions or other areas in your universe are taken off and what you have is doing terrible, consider tax if you need to. But otherwise, you might want to make some replacements and keep that thing rolling.
Yeah, and you don't want to hold an investment too long because
Mhm.
once you start losing money, it takes a lot more effort to kind of go back up.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, exactly right. We have a visual for that. Let me share that. Yeah.
And you can kind of see, like, once you start to lose 50%, you have to basically have 100% gain to get back to where you were before. And so you don't really want to hold on to your losers. And that's a lot of, proficient day traders, they let their winners run and they cut their losses quicker.
Yeah.
And that's how, even if they're not like just a like a 50-50 on if they do a trade well, if they have good, profit taking and selling, they can always be a profitable investor.
Yeah, and so you look at this, the 50%, just do the math. So if you got $10 and it drops to $5, okay, now I got to make $5 to get back to 10, but I'm at 5. So I need a 100% rate of return from that point to get back. And so, because that gets kind of confusing. I'm down 20%, I need to come back 20. No, you actually have to come back 25%.
Yep.
If you look at this chart. And so that is exactly right. So you want to kind of monitor those situations to make sure that, you're not getting too deep into it. This always then combined with the thought process of, hey, this could come back. And it can. I mean, look at NVIDIA, actually, it got hammered. Yeah. Versus almost any rule you could have, you might want to have sold NVIDIA last year, right? I think down 40% maybe from its high, something in that neighborhood. And now, last I looked, it was up over 180. It's up almost 4% today, up over 180% so far this year. So it's doing okay. And so there is always that aspect of, even if it wasn't taxable, do you sell? And of course, those NVIDIA stories are what make you lose a lot of money, because now you're holding on to all your stuff, hoping that it turns into NVIDIA. So you do have to be careful. It's why we advocate for large holdings, this kind of fruit tree concept, where when it gets real high, you take pieces off to get it back down to some number that you're willing to hold on to. But so this is a great question. And it actually goes to the core of really the asset management and how to deal with it. And I think it's a good example of thought process and how you get through some of these things.